Okay, the program we're going through in this example is going to be our easy to use Manual D duct design software. The program can operate as a standalone. I have many clients using the program as a standalone, or you can work hand in hand with our best-selling AccuLoad software program. You'll see here, if I click on import, you're going to see a list of load calculations that I have available in my load calc software. I'm going to choose one that I've done recently. It pulls in my customer information. It's going to pull in all my room CFMs, my total CFM, and such data as that. Okay, now one thing I want to get into, what I usually tell people, Manual D, it gets to be a little bit tricky just because you have a lot of fittings. You have a lot of, it's really strict in terms of how it sizes ductwork that not too many people are used to dealing with. I like to relate it to the load calc program. In Manual J, or in doing load calcs, you add your walls and then you add your windows to your walls. Well, in the duct design program, we sort of follow that same pattern, and as you'll see if you're familiar with our load program, this program looks pretty similar. Instead of adding walls, we're adding trunks, and instead of adding windows to those walls, we're adding runouts to the trunks. So we're sort of following the same pattern through there. So where you're going to start, you're going to always click on System. You'll see that my load calculation brought over my 1200 CFM. Well, the very first step that we need to do is we need to put in our static pressure. So I'm going to say our static pressure is 0.6. Now down here you're going to see your component pressure losses. You're going to refer to your spec sheets for your exact losses, but you'll see in here that I'm just going to put in a few different component losses that I have on my system here. Now, those are percentages, again, that comes from your spec sheets. From there, it calculates our available static pressure. It's very, very important that your static pressure is a positive number. You can't have more losses than what you have available on your blower. It's very important. If you do have a negative static pressure, probably one of my most common support calls, it will not generate a report for you. You'll see down here that we have a section for total effective length. That's going to come from all your fittings, your ovals, your 90-degree elbows, your hard bends. That's where we're going to add into the load, which are add into your design, which ultimately is going to allow us to calculate your friction rate, which sizes your duct. Now, I'm not going to do a full example here. I'm just going to sort of get you started. The tricky part with the program, everybody sizes differently. We have a manual on our website that sort of goes through some trunk and branch, some radial and spider, some drop and exterior wall. Depending on the type of system that you're dealing with, there's pretty much just about every example you would deal with in that manual if you want to follow along. What I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the supply trunk. There's always one started for you. Now, the very first thing I do when I add a trunk or when I add a runout, I have to tell it if there's any fittings on that trunk. So in this case, I'm going to say I do have a branch takeoff, and the subtype is A. Now, the nice thing with the program, we have all of the preloaded fittings in here that come right from the Manual D book. So if you find, okay, that's what I'm using, 3M, if you click on the picture down here, it's going to choose it for you up there. So you can either use the pictures or you can use the terminology. Now, what I suggest, again, every contractor is different. If there are fittings that you constantly use, which is more than likely going to happen, add that as a favorite. I'm going to use this branch takeoff N. So when you come in here, you don't have to look through pictures. You don't have to look through terminology. You can just say, okay, I have a branch takeoff 3N. My trunk length is going to be 20 feet long. I have 3 of those fittings coming off of this trunk. I add those fittings. Again, same process with the load. We tell it what type of wall we have, we give it a size, we add it to the system. We're doing the same thing here. So that's my trunk. Now, what I can do is I can add a supply runout, and in my outline you're going to see that supply runout add over there. Now, what kind of fitting do I have on my runout? Okay, I have a elbow or a oval transition S. I'm going to click on that picture. It's going to change me to T. How long is this runout? I'm going to say this runout is 10 feet. What's the position on the supply trunk in terms of how far it is from the plenum? 4 feet. How many fittings? 1. CFM. If I'm operating this program as a standalone, I can type in my CFM value. But now if you remember, one of the very first steps I did in this video was I brought my load calc across. So when I click on this yellow box, it's going to list all of my rooms that I did in my load calc. This runout is going to bathroom 1. I save it. Again, I add my fitting. I can add another supply runout. Okay, same fitting. This runout's still 10 feet. Maybe we're 8 feet there. My CFM, which room is this going to? Well, let's send this to the dining room. Click Save Selection, add the fitting, and now you'll see in my outline I have a runout going to the bathroom and the dining room, and it calculates the CFM there. Your return, I'm not going to go through the return. Your return's the same process. You choose your fittings. On the return, you may choose more than one room. If you have different items, I mean, your return may include 6, 7 rooms. It may include all your rooms if you have them all in the same return. That's just one way of going about it. When we click on reports, you'll see that we have a couple different reports here that we can use. I'm going to resize this to fit in the screen. Your first page is going to be all of your generic data that you put in, your static pressure, your total equivalent length. You'll see that we came up there, and then it's calculating our friction rate. Our page 2 is going to be our size. So you'll see, again, this isn't too realistic because I've put in just a few runouts just to give you an idea of how it works. But you'll see where it's sized my bathroom, my dining room, and my trunk for me. Again, it's a pretty tricky program. Once you get used to it, I think adding the favorites and navigating the favorites from there, just storing those items just to really speed things up really helps you out. If you have questions at any time, feel free to give us a call. It's 815-452-2345, or if you do have questions via email, it's support@adteksoft.com. Thank you.